Hello everyone, how's it going?
Hey.
Hello.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to What Would the Smart Party Do? I'm here again, as usual, with my co-host, Baz. How you doing, Baz?
Really good, thanks, mate. Good to be back on again on your YouTubes and your videos and your catch-ups.
Super, and we've got Matt from Steamforge Games, as always. How you doing, Matt?
Hello.
Happy. And this time, our guest GM is Guy. Guy Milner. How you doing, Guy?
Yeah, I'm great. Yeah, good. Glad to be here.
Excellent. So, as long-time viewers of the show will know, we're going to go through an intro adventure, and it'll probably be about a couple of hours. We'll try and play it straight, as written, as best we can, and then next time we'll revisit and say, how did that scenario go? How might we improve it, or what could be more awesome? That kind of thing. So I'll not steal Guy's thunder on this. I'll hand over him to explain what the game is and what we're doing.
Okay, so we're playing Vaesen, which is a folk horror investigative RPG from Free League or Free League and Publishing that has been kickstarted. At the time of recording, I think the Kickstarter is almost done, and they're talking about sending books out. So
That's right.
by the time this hits the airwaves, it's possible that it's available for certainly for PDF purchase. It is a folk horror. It is a folk horror game, but it touches on some themes in it. So be warned, viewers, that there's probably trigger warnings here for death, bit of suicide, possibly domestic violence, and that kind of thing. So viewer, beware. Obviously, pause it and stop it if that happens. Not all of those things may come up, but they might do depending on how it plays out. Because of that as well, we're going to be using an X card in the session. So there's a little macro set up. Yeah, you can do the little X card sign, or there's a little macro set up in Roll20. So if you just click that, it'll say X card. And then if any of us do that, we'll all kind of stop and unpick what happens. And I suppose we might do that off air, depending on how it works. We're all, like, all of us have played together before and stuff, but it's still worth having because you never know what kind of things will happen, and just helps everyone feel safe, and to also know that you can have like scary things in without worrying about upsetting someone. So to the introduction. So Vaesen is set in 19th century Scandinavia, and for centuries Vaesen, or monsters, have lived alongside the people. Some of them helpful, like fey folk and trolls, and some dangerous. There are werewolves and revenants out there. And in the past, people always appeased them by doing the many rituals that they needed to, like, maintain the relationship with them and keep the trolls on side and make sure the werewolves didn't come and get them in the night. But now, with industrialization, a lot of the old ways are being lost. Some of the villagers, some of the old people who kept the rituals going have left for the city or have passed away. And so the question is, I mean, who will keep the forest in good order for the woodwives? Who will protect the old and infirm from the trolls? And then who knows what kind of ancient deals could end up being broken, leaving people open to attack from revenants and werewolves. Most people can't see Vaesen, that they're invisible to sight. But you, the player characters, are gifted. You're known as Thursday's Children. And after an event in your past, you gain the ability to see Vaesen. So because of this, you've banded together and resurrected, if you like, an ancient organization called the Society to study the Vaesen across Sweden and to resolve and investigate some of the problems that they're causing. You've been given already the deeds to Castle Gillenkreutz, which is pictured there on the Fyris River in Uppsala, and that's your home base, and you venture out in a kind of mission-based structure, I suppose, the game, to investigate things each session and see what's going on. So without further ado, should we go round the characters and maybe introduce who you're playing? You've got a little bit for relationships with other player characters, so maybe if we leave that for now, we'll do that second, but just go through who you're playing, what they look like, what's their history. You've all got a dark secret. It might be, I know it's a secret, it's probably worth having an open game so we share that. So that might come to light, even though as players we know it, but other player characters don't. And you've also got a memento on your equipment list that is important to you. So maybe share that and why it means so much to you, because it's got a bit of a game effect to let you recover stuff. Do you want to start, Gaz?
Sure. Tonight I will be playing Father Eric Forsmark, who is a priest. with her motivation to clean his tarnished soul. For it so happens that in his dark and murky past, he hurt someone when enthralled by a witch. And there was a little old dear he's been serving that family for some time, and due to his unbidden lust at the hands of this witch, he let the old woman die alone and afraid, and without being able to speak to her father and confess with a last confession and such. And he still has the plans to her tomb as his memento, because she was going to be the last of her line to go into that tomb and be blessed, and she slipped away while he was being under the spell, quite literally, of this witch, and he still feels that as a dark stain on his soul to this day.
Gosh, here's hoping you get a chance to fulfill that destiny. Matt, who are you playing today?
I'm playing Dr. Dorothea Borelius. Borelius. Easy for me to say. She is a doctor, quite obviously, but a medical doctor. She is motivated by aiding the weak and afflicted. She probably is. She's probably a bit of a lefty in that regard. She really believes in kind of the weak, the afflicted, the underrepresented, providing them with medical care and sustenance. And her dark secret is the officers, because she is ex-army. She will be looking to rob and steal from them and sell those goods in order to fund her free medical care that she gives to the poor.
Fantastic, fantastic. Do you carry a memento?
Do I carry a memento? I do. I carry a beautifully ornamental pipe that I stole from a captain. I can't quite bring myself to sell it because the night that I stole it, I was conducting an autopsy, and I still remember slicing back the chest to peel back the skin and start cutting through the ribs to start getting the organs out. And as I did, the corpse's hands reached up and grabbed me by the wrist and stopped me from doing it. I blame the pipe, obviously.
Excellent, excellent. And finally, Baz, who are you playing?
My full name is Sören Rask. You can call me Mr. Rask. I have walked this world for 52 winters, which I'm informed by some is considered elderly whippersnappers. I have been working for most of my life as an indentured servant. I'm a butler to the high houses. I have always served my master with distinction, with duty, with honour, until that fateful day when my previous master made that fatal error, and I murdered him with his own cane. I'm not proud of it. I speak of it rarely, but I've paid my penance. Now, me and that cane, we have a new master. I am in faithful service to the good doctor. Where she leads, I will follow. There will always be a silver tray with blood upon it.
Fantastic. So you've banded together, and you are the society, if you like. You've got a wealthy patron who lets you keep the castle and so on, but you're it, if you like. There's the three of you as the game thing. There's not like 20 other people back at the ranch. There's you to do it.
Are there any other societies in the world, or is the whole society?
The society. That's what it is.
Wow. Like they do the first night, we're all there hanging around waiting for everybody else to turn up to the party, because in this massive mansion.
All fit in the same stagecoach.
Yeah, thank you all for coming. Wait, what? So let's find out. We've started a little bit. Let's find out what you think of each other. You've got on your character sheets relationships. So I think you've got 3 things with like gaps to fill in other PCs. So maybe if we go around kind of one at a time, and just obviously you won't use all 3 because there are only 3 players, so there are 2 other players, and say kind of what you think of each of them using that sentence, or you can embellish it if you want, if you see what I mean. Gaz, should we start with you again?
Of course. I am clearly better than the doctor, who seems to just only concentrate on healing the body and pays little mind to spiritual matters and eternal life thereafter. So her focus on transient things and the frivolities of common day seem to show a myopia of her, and that she's not willing to embrace the fact that religion is in fact the saviour of us all, and it's only with God's grace and all the saints and angels that we will persist much longer. However, I am also secretly in love with Sören. Although, yes.
Wait, what? Bam, bam, bam.
Record scratch. Yes, although brought low by a witch at one point and swearing himself to celibacy, he is of that bent, unfortunately, is Father Eric, and he has a loving soul and aches for someone to fill it faithfully rather than the ensorcelled way the witch did, and holds a candle for Sören, but will, of course, in proper Regency style, never actually say that and stay 6 feet apart at all times, and never embrace lest he can't control his emotions anymore.
A slight quiver of the lip at moments.
When he's feeling really like the passions are flared, yes.
Keep one foot on the floor at all times.
Lovely, lovely. Matt, what about Dorothea?
Well, Dorothea, well, quite frankly, these conversations that Father Eric seems to really enjoy, where he waxes lyrical about the importance of spiritual nurturing and everything like that, they just annoy me. It's not scientific. It's largely, well, mumbo jumbo in my opinion. And the fact that he keeps talking about it is desperately annoying. I do trust Rask with everything, including my secrets, whether he likes it or not. I will unburden myself on him. I haven't quite told him about the corpse coming back to life just yet. But maybe just because we haven't had the right opportunity.
Yeah, nearly all your secrets, but not quite all.
Yeah.
Okay.
I trust him with them, I just won't tell him all.
Yeah, okay. So, Rask, what do you feel about your companions?
Well, I'm actually at the doctor's service, so I refer to her as mistress. I am not necessarily in her paid employ, but we have been close, and I've been working with her for a while now. I see her as my employer, and dare I say it, maybe on a Christmas morning with a whiskey between us, perhaps a friend. But however, on the other hand, I don't take orders from the Father. I respect him, of course I do. It's not entirely his fault, because I don't take orders from God anymore either, having lost my faith, the one and only time I ever lost my temper and caused a man to die.
Oh, so much pent up emotion. Should we just do this? Should we just play this? Stay in the castle.
In the drawing room of the castle next to that.
Yeah.
It dare not speak its name.
Very good. So there's all kinds of stuff going there, but the main thing that you've banded together to do isn't just to bicker and argue amongst yourselves. It's to investigate Vaesen, and you do indeed receive an invitation, which I'm going to show to you, to the Dance of Dreams. What I'm going to suggest maybe we do, if you can see that, is I imagine when this note arrives, one rainy, dark morning, it would probably fall to Rask, I think, to receive it from the sodden messenger and maybe assemble everyone and read it out. So, Baz, do you want to read out what the invitation is?
With your permission, mistress.
Do carry on, Rask. Do carry on.
Very well, very well. The Dance of Dreams, a shadow play of horror, murder, and revenge. Let yourself be enraptured and terrified by shadow theatre, with clockwork as amazing as that of the master's constructions on the continent. Watch as evil smiles, good people go to their doom, and spirits come to life. Follow Oscar Hjort's encounter with the Black One, his struggle, and finally the betrayal which claimed his life. Hear the tunes of the enchanted flute that sends souls dancing to hell. The show will premiere shortly at the Witch Cat Down. Not for the faint of heart. Meet me tonight at the Witch Cat in Klaus. Largely overwritten, I think.
Yeah, it's Olaus actually is the name there, but yeah, it's poorly written there.
Mm-hmm. Bad choice of verbs, not entirely grammatically correct either. Work of a commoner, I dare say, mistress.
I think so, and I do find the centre justification on the typography a little bit offensive. But other than that, intriguing. Do you not think? I wonder what they mean about not for the faint of heart.
Father, are you aware of this location, this locale?
Yeah, there's the clink of a crystal plug to the decanter going back in the bottle as he swirls around a large glass of a claret. Takes its nose, his typical breakfast. Why, yes, I think it's not too far a journey for us. We should be able to sort out some kind of transportation, I would think. Talk of spirits and such. Maybe an exorcism is in order. I shall fetch my finest books for this mission.
So it does so love an exorcism.
Do you think? I mean, it's just a shadow play after all.
Dear girl, there are so many times when things have been not what they seemed for me in the past, and as we venture forth many times from this castle, you too shall see that all is not as it first seems.
If I may venture, mistress, a night out would be good for your constitution.
Well, quite right, and well, look, any opportunity to show Father Eric the scientific justification and reasoning behind his superstitions is not to be sniffed at.
I'll fetch our coats.
Okay, so you've got your invitation. The Witch Cat Inn is, in fact, you're here in Uppsala. The Witch Cat is but a few hours ride by coach to the south. You have a little bit of time to prepare, during which you might, there's a couple of things, well, there's one thing that you definitely want to do, because it's part of the kind of preparation phase, but you might want to do some research or some investigation to try and find out about some of the stuff in the note. So I think we'll do the kind of research investigation stuff without really requiring a role. You can just decide what you're wanting to do. There's a few things on the note that you might want to find out more about the Witch Cat Inn. You might want to look at this name, see if you've got any reference to this Oscar Hjort in the records of the society's library and stuff. You might want to find out about, who this Olaus could be, and what method you use for that. I kind of leave up to you.
Yeah, I think the father would know about things like births, deaths, and marriages, and certificates, and things like that, and parish gossip and so forth. So in terms of finding out about Oscar Hjort, that sounds like the sort of thing that he'd wander off to kind of go and research.
Excellent. So yeah, you can indeed. You can look in one of your first places to look is the Society's library, because it would tend to document anything unusual, which this sounds like it might be. And you do actually find he was a society member in the past. And Oscar Hjort lived in the late 18th century, about 50 years ago. He worked as a writer, spent some time in Paris, studying under Francois Dominique Séraphin, a famous artist who put on shadow plays for the court at Versailles and the Palais Royal.
Okay. So do we know much about previous society members now that there's only a few of us, barely a handful? Did they all meet unfortunate fates, or did the society kind of just like wither on the vine and slowly...
It's sort of withered on the vine. There's not one great event or betrayal that happened. It just kind of fell into disrepute. People left Sweden and moved away. Okay. So the records that you have are patchy at best. So that's why you just kind of, his background, but you don't really know what he did or where he was involved, if that makes sense.
But it seems to check out that there would be some kind of story about him dealing with spirits somewhere. So a shadow play about it, and the link to Francois seems to give some credence to the letter, at least, that it's on the level to some degree. Yeah. Okay.
So who's Olaus then? That's the person who's invited us, by the looks of it.
Yeah. Are you asking around, or are you?
Would I know? Do I need to ask?
You might need to. I suppose you took delivery of the letter. You could check with you might be in with the kind of couriers and so on from that kind of people from there. You can find out there's the Olaus that you source it to is there's a private detective in town called Olaus Klint, who's got a small house in the middle of the city, and he has made a bit of a name for himself in cases that could involve the occult, maybe. Nothing that would immediately draw your attention. So, but but kind of missing person cases where there's an edge of doubt as to whether it's a real thing or, you know.
And is the occult a different thing to the Vaesen that we tend to troubleshoot and investigate?
No, you would had he uncovered something real, you would have expected to find out about it.
I see. Okay,
that's pretty much. So is Dorothea going to find out anything? Do you want to do some investigation?
Oh, I'm almost certain that she will know of the Witch Cat Inn on the basis that it's not that far away.
Yeah, so it's... Yeah, you can find some reference to it. You've heard of it, and you think you've seen something in the Society Annals about it. Actually, it's in the crossroads. The nearest town to it is Sigtuna, which is a small little sleepy village, and it was used at times as like a gathering place for the society, for society members, as a bit of a meeting place. At the end of the 18th century, and the innkeeper at the time, Piri Hajula, was known to be a Thursday's child, so he had the sight. So he wasn't a member of society, but he could see Vaesen, and so he was gifted there. And you check out who's running it now. It's run by Piri's grandson, Sami Hajula.
Okay. And is there any reference to has he got the site as well? Do I find any reference to that or not?
There's no reference there's no reference there, but the society obviously has just been reconstituted, so nobody's made contact with him since he did it. It doesn't tend to run in families particularly. It tends to be like with you have like an inciting incident or an encounter that means that then you can see them because you've been kind of shocked into it. It doesn't tend to just be a like hereditary thing particularly. Okay, so you can make your preparations to set off. As you do so, the journey is going to be by coach. You can easily book a coach down there. As we kind of trundle and set off from Uppsala in this thick rain and terrible storm, you're going to arrive just as it's getting to the pitch black of night, obviously. As we kind of rumble along the roads south of Uppsala, you'll each have done some preparations individually for this investigation by maybe meeting with a trusted confidant or preparing some equipment that will be useful, or maybe spending some time in reflection or reading books. This will give you an advantage in the investigation that you're going to do, which is going to give you an extra 2 dice. So as this coach rumbles along, let's each do a little flashback scene of what your preparation is. And if you make a note of it just on your character sheet next to the advantage. In terms of what skill it can give you a bonus to, it is completely flexible. So it can just be, I don't know, you met up with an old friend and talked of memories past, and you can call on that when you're in danger, and it'll inspire you and give you those extra 2 dice. So let's just go through. If you go in the order we were doing before, the order that you're on my screen. Gaz, do you want to start? What do we see Father Eric do in this flashback against the rain and wind?
He goes and speaks to the bishop, who gives him some kindly words. Most of the church has kind of shunned the father a bit, but Bishop O'Neill still has an ear for him. He's not from Sweden, and a bit of a black sheep himself within the diocese. So he's happy to take all the waifs and strays from the flock and try and give him bits of extra advice. And generally speaking, although the priest is good at inspiring people in terms of manipulating them or getting information out of them in a maybe not dishonest way, but having the subtleties to be able to pull information from people, he's not particularly good at. So he gets in the confessional with the bishop and gives him some worldly wise advice on how to speak to people while staying on the right side of God and truth and honesty, but also phrasing things in such a way that you might get that little bit of extra information that you were hoping for. So I'm going to increase my manipulation by +2 for a test. By speaking to Bishop O'Neill about how to talk to folk and withdraw information from them.
Just to be clear, it can get, you don't have to decide what test it's on. You can just,
all right, okay.
You can just have it. it could apply to manipulation, or it could apply to something else.
I'll put Bishop O'Neill's wise words in there, and we'll
exactly, yeah. So it's like that. It's some conversation you can call on from that. Matt, what does Dorothea do? What do we see her as we go back to the carriage for a moment, and then kind of maybe zoom in on your face?
So you'll see her wrapping up warm, strong, sturdy boots on, a scarf wrapped around her neck. She's going out for a bracing walk along the river, and she finds herself absent-mindedly wandering down into a small local village, and there is some kind of like a soup kitchen, and she just starts helping out and just chatting, and the flashback sort of wide-angled camera sees her just laughing and reconnecting with humanity, and generally increasing her overall sense of well-being.
Fantastic. So the pleasure of charity.
Yeah.
Maybe it is your advantage, you can call on. What about Mr. Rask? What are you doing to prepare for when we see you in the coach rattling along?
I've made arrangements with some of my downstairs contacts to have cached in a secret location a picnic basket near the Witch Cat. It will contain cold cuts, finest cheeses, a flask of Finnish vodka, and a bottle of Dom Perignon for when the mission is complete.
And a shotgun.
Fantastic. So the expectation of a fine picnic is
well, the vodka's getting warmer by the hour. So the chilled glasses won't last forever.
That's a motivating thing completely. Okay, and we rattle along in that. So you can see it takes 3.5 hours on this coach, on this rickety coach, and as you get down, the storm gets kind of worse and worse. You can see that the foaming waves of the lake to the west splash against the shoreline. Tall trees as you go through the forest towards it, getting knocked to the ground, and then suddenly at a T-junction, the Witch Cat Inn appears, surrounded by woods. It looks to be the only building around. The nearest thing you can see, if you just look to the south, halfway between it and the village, Sigtuna, you can see just the cross of a church tower peeking through the trees. The coachman is very eager at this point to kind of drop you off and continue on to Sigtuna in the weather like this. So he stresses at you that you should make haste and get indoors before the biting wind and rain soaks you to your skin too much.
Awesome, we'll do that. Just a question. Did we have a chance to grab some special equipment or anything before we went? I don't know, that's like something that we could do now as we're like unloading our bags from the coach.
Yeah, that'd be a good thing. Yeah, if there's anything specific that you think that you would have, let's see it unloaded off the coach. That's a good way to do it.
So I'm not too off on the setting just yet. Is it all pretty mundane stuff we'd have, or is there such a thing as like a spirit detector of some sort, or a sensor to make the unseen appear, or something like that, or is it just like pretty ordinary stuff?
There's not. I think there is that you can get later in the game, but at the moment, yeah.
Now it's just okay.
You might have it, but it might just be, you might have something that you think helps you detect spirits, but it
it really doesn't. Okay, no, that's fine. Well, I've got my fine wines anyway, so that's all right. I'm going to brought a book collection, some old scrolls. So while perhaps some of the others might have spare clothes or things like that, my suitcase that I'm heaving off the back, going purple-faced, is actually really just full of dusty old books and scrolls and parchments and things.
Fantastic. Okay, and I think with that we can arrive at the Witch Cat. So, has that worked?
I think so. Yeah.
So,
arrived.
As you arrive, the wind whips around, and you can hear it whistle through the boards and bricks of the inn. You can see the garden around here looks to be very overgrown, and everything looks quite run down. But within the windows of the inn, you can see lights on, and you can hear just the clinking of glasses, and there might be just the smell of stew on the wind. There's a gentleman stood outside just on the border smoking, tall, with a big moustache, who I think, Rask, you recognise him from your descriptions from asking around. This is Olas. And he says, you look like the travellers I summoned here. This looks to be an ill meeting indeed. welcome to the Witch Cat. It's not the best inn, but it's warm and dry, at least on a night like this.
I'm sorry, my dear fellow.
Glove.
So you summoned us deliberately to an ill meeting?
He says, yes, your reputations precede you. I visited here a few days ago, and there is something strange, something of the night about it. I know that I'm known as a dabbler in occult investigations, but truly I'm just an amateur. I had heard word that you had moved into the castle and that this might be more up in your street rather than something that I can handle. Visitors speak of nightmares every night as they go here. I visited a few days and there was something in the air about it. And then the flyer that you received about the Shadow Theatre has been sent all over the countryside around here. But I know nothing of it, and I could see no signs when I looked in the inn the other time.
Ah, I see. So the flyer wasn't of your printing. Yours was the handwritten message at the bottom.
Indeed. I fear something ill is to do in here.
Okay.
But please, let's make our way. As he's talking, the couple of you that weren't, I think Dorothea, you were like discussing face to face with him. I think maybe Rask and Father Eric. Do you want to make me observation checks? First skill roll of the game. So it's a dice pool system. You roll a bunch of d6s. If you get a 6, you get a success. That's it really. So
yeah. So I've got
empathy plus observation.
Sorry. So you get your empathy as well. You get your stat and skill.
Empathy 5 and observation 3 for me. So roll 8 dice.
Yeah.
And get no success.
Wow.
Yeah, this is like the other Free League games. There might be a chance to push a roll, and I don't know if that's advisable or not right now. But shall we
indeed
discuss what the options are?
Indeed, there is. You can choose to push a roll after you've rolled. What you would do is roll every dice that isn't already a 6. So that'll be for you guys, all your dice. If you push a roll, though, you give yourself a condition. So at the bottom of your character sheets, you've got some physical and mental conditions, observations and empathy skills. So you would become angry, frightened, or hopeless after rolling. Those conditions give you basically 1 less dice, cumulative to any of those rolls. I'm going to reveal a little bit. This maybe isn't the yeah. You maybe have higher stakes skill rolls to make later on.
Yeah,
I say we pick our battles, Father.
Yeah.
Stop pulling back the screen to show us behind it.
Sorry, I was just for you.
So I'm narratively exhausted because I've been dragging this big, heavy case through the mud, splashing further mud up myself, all the time asking Mr. Rask to help me and if you could take my bags into the thing now, which he's singularly failed to do. So I've spent most of the time just like dragging this suitcase up to the front and missed the entire conversation. Anything else was going on?
I mutter under my breath, well, sending you thoughts and prayers. Maybe that will lift it.
God does move in mysterious ways and with heavy breathing.
Fantastic. And you can make your way into the inn. Inside, it is indeed warm and bright. And you have a panoply of people around. You can just make out the sounds in the kitchen of the cook serving people. And there's a man stood behind the bar who appears to be in charge, serving people. 2 people. There's a tall, thin waiter who you can see walking around, and there's also a sort of 19-year-old girl who's walking between tables and doing that. The other patrons at the inn there is a portly, wheezing priest sat in one kind of huddled by the fire. Checking there's not a fire on that map, and I've not put him in the right place. You get the idea. There is an elderly, bald man with impressive moustache who's knocking back the beers and slurping on the stew, looking in good spirits. And then there's a quiet lady sat in the corner on her own, kind of minding her business. Olas comes in as well and shows you a table and suggests and goes to the bar to get some drinks in for you. So what are you doing? You can ensconce yourself with some drinks and stew. Is there anything you particularly can talk to these people, try and find out what's happening? You will notice just from coming in, there's lots of buckets on the floor, the roof's leaking, you can tell the wind whistles through, and there's the creak of the floorboards above. The whole place is in real kind of disrepair. It looks to be in quite a state, this place.
Milady, I was going to take our coats, but perhaps we'd be better advised to retain them about our persons.
I think that might be wise. This is a particularly salubrious establishment, isn't it?
Hopefully the entertainment will be worth it.
Well, perhaps we should call the innkeeper over. I believe that gentleman there matches a description of Sami Hadula, the current innkeeper. Perhaps we should summon him over for a bit of a how do you do and what do you do about this drafty mess.
I look for a small bell on the table, not finding one. I find myself frustratedly having to click my fingers to summon a servant.
Sammy resolutely stays there, but the Sven, the waiter, does kind of come over to see what you're after. Says, "Can I help you at all?"
I look him up and down and appraise him. Is he well turned out? Is he scruffy as the establishment? What's his manner?
He is indeed as scruffy as the establishment. Not a man who you would recommend for employment at all. But in an inn in the middle of nowhere, out south of Uppsala, what are you to expect? I guess.
Okay, my good man. I hope your stew is better than your standards. I'll have food and a drink brought to the table, please.
Is there a wine list?
I believe we have a couple of bottles set aside. There's definitely both red and white is available.
Oh, my favourites.
One of each.
Yes, let's try them both.
Jonathan, at this point, as they're saying, the bald man with the big moustache speaks. So I would be wary of the white. The second bottle really stings in the morning. Best to stick to the red if you want to find out what brings you here on such a night, such a dreadful night as this.
I'm not going to hold the flyer up. We've come for the entertainment, haven't you?
What on earth is that? I don't think I've ever seen that before in my life. I don't. There's been strange things, but there's no way Sammy would entertain any kind of entertainment or the arts at his inn.
Why?
At this night. He's not a fan of such frivolities at all. You should be careful if you're asking around that. You might he might not be pleased if that's the way. He wouldn't have any truck with theatre or
oh really?
That likes.
Yeah, I find that curious to have such an extreme adverse reaction to something as innocuous as the arts.
He's a fine man, but he's not been the same since the business with his wife. She was the artistic one, really. But how they argued, and then she left, of course, with the theatre. A tragic end, of course. She died soon afterwards. It's best to stay on the right side of him. He's a good man, but he has a terrible temper.
Yes, I completely understand. I had a dear friend whose grandfather sadly passed away, quite wealthy, but he left all his money to the Lifeboat Association. So ever since, she's refused to go anywhere near the sea.
Indeed, it is a terrible time. As you look around, you can see that Jonathan is trying to be a bit subtle as he talks about this. But he's had a few. He's been quite loud. You can see the other patrons are kind of noticing. You notice particularly Lisa looks a little bit. She's looked nervous from the minute you've walked in, really. And Sophia at this point is kind of almost backing towards the stairs. From there.
Okay. Well, my priest sees something in Lisa, in almost an aspect of the widow that he let down, and he feels like drawn to her, and he definitely wants to avoid Father Niels because, he's just like trying to get the two positive sides of a battery to meet with him and other priests. So he's gonna, once he's got his bottle of red, pop that out, throw the cork away. He won't be needing that. He's going to go over with a couple of glasses to go and sit with Lisa and so, oh yeah, you're right, my dear. A terrible night like this, someone like you shouldn't be out. It's good you're here. So let's stoke that fire up. What, you look worried. Don't worry, you can confide in me. And he'll put his hands on her hands in a rather too overt fashion to kind of like attempting to calm her, but perhaps being a bit worrying.
She is. I'd really rather not. And as she does this, you notice that she looks quite kind of shivery and cold. And as you look at her eyes seem a little bit red as well as you do that. Do you want to make a learning test to see what's going on here?
I do. And what I also want to do, because I've told you I brought my book collection, can I have like a +1 bonus dice for that? Because I've got my book collection with me.
Yeah, a gear dice, in fact. You can have a +1 gear for your book collection.
So, okay, learning is under logic. And I've got 1 learning and I've got a book. So that's 5 dice. 1 success.
Oh, yeah. She is, as you maybe attempt to converse with her, and she's kind of backing away a little bit. She's clutching her handbag, and she seems a little bit confused. She kind of goes to lose her temper, and then leaves it. You actually, you're no medical doctor, but you have seen this before in one of your parishioners. This is somebody who's deep in opium addiction, and it doesn't. You've seen this kind of behaviour before. She seems very keen to stay away from you and not reveal stuff. And in your conversations, she is just a night guest at the inn. She's stopping on her way up to Uppsala. She doesn't want to reveal anything else.
Okay, well, having gathered that and not having any truck with drug addicts, as I swill down a full goblet of the Jenny Grigger Red and pour myself another one, I find them to be of low constitution and willpower, not like me. I'm going to try and persist in, while maintaining an outwardly avuncular fashion, I'm just going to make her more and more uncomfortable just by general conversation, to the point where she might let something slip just to get away from me. So I'm just going to be persistent and tenacious, and I'll be like overly affable, but she'll just get so uncomfortable. Something might, she might drop a handbag, or she might let something go, that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, you have a thing, don't you? For it would be manipulation to try and get something out of her, but I think you have something that works if you're in a.
I don't know.
Do you have a? I think you have a confessor.
I've got my
talent.
confessor talent. Yes. So I can use my observation instead of manipulation.
Yeah, this would count as a confidential conversation.
Cool.
As you try and do that. As you're doing that, maybe we'll cut back to see what Mr. Rask is doing as you're sort of whining and dining in your own way. This woman.
Yeah.
Rask? What's your plan? You've kind of sat back a little bit here.
I keep my powder dry actually, so I'm going to stay at our table. Make sure that it's all laid out properly. I'm going to rearrange the knives and forks and napkins and condiments, so that at least has some kind of like veneer of sophistication about it. And I'm going to be all eyes and all ears and watch what's happening with conversations that my colleagues aren't having. Is anybody swapping glances? Is anybody like getting their coat and leaving? Looking for just activity of note amongst the people who aren't being spoken to. I
think, yeah. So as this is going on, Sophia is looking a little bit nervous, and she is particularly the one that you see. Sammy, you think he's not quite caught what Jonathan's been talking about, but he's trying to overhear it. He knows something's on. While you're rearranging the glass and stuff, Sophia actually just comes over to you and starts like clearing glasses and stuff, and says, "Oh, I'm sorry, we don't know much of fine dining and stuff out in the country here. We're probably not up to your standards, sir, or your mistress and masters." And then she just looks and catches your eye, and says, "The performance is upstairs in the attic."
Very well. Okay.
I need to do it when my dad's not around.
Is your dad Sammy?
Yeah.
You need to do it. What is it you need to do, woman?
Well, you've come for it, haven't you? I need to show you it. And then she kind of goes to one side and goes, oh, and kind of looks as if she's caught herself saying, doesn't quite know why she's still on this table doing it, and kind of puts the glass down and moves backwards from there.
Does her body language sort of indicate that she's had a bit of a split personality moment kind of thing, or she's realised that her dad might be watching, so she's trying to cover it up?
Give me an observation check. I think that's reasonable.
Okay.
Because it could be either of those things on a cursory glance. Let's see.
All right. I am sadly only 4 of these bad boys. Fortune favours the brave and the bold.
You could get 4 6s. You did not.
I did not.
So I can. We should do the mechanic now. You know the push mechanic. You can choose that if you want to. It's up to you whether you need to. It's not an investigative game where you're gonna miss stuff and then we'll just have like an hour of you waiting around. But
yeah, that's
up to you.
That's fine. Maybe it was me kind of seeing something that didn't exist there. Has she wandered off at all, or is she still nearby for a?
I hope not. I'd like to try and retain her at the table, perhaps by knocking over a glass of wine or something, and making a bit of a fuss and a fluster, so she has to kind of dab away at that. And perhaps, good doctor, perhaps you can like get a conversation going with her sotto voce.
That would be wonderful. I think I'd like to talk to her about her mother.
So
psychoanalysis at the table.
Days long.
You can certainly do that. If you knock a glass over, that's going to get her attention, and she begins to kind of fluster. To be clear, you did notice there was something up with how she told you about the performance and then kind of did that, but you can't tell whether it was she's just scared that someone will overhear, or if it's more than that.
I'm going to lead with the line. I'm going to try and sort of soften, stroke, butter her up a little bit and say, well, what wonderfully elegant hands you have, such artistic hands. Tell me, do you get that from your mother's side or your father's side?
She says, well, my mother, not from my father. He would have no truck with the arts whatsoever. He does not approve of such frivolity at all. My mother, though, she longed for the arts. God rest her soul.
God rest her soul. Oh, I am so sorry. Has she passed on?
I am afraid. Shortly after she left, we had word that she passed from cholera. So yeah, it is.
Oh, my dear child, I am terribly sorry to remind you of such a sad moment in your life.
Do you want to make, as you're, because she's actually going to get a bit affected by this, you're trying to kind of calm her down a little bit.
Yeah.
Here, I think. Do you want to give me? I think it's inspiration. I'd let you use manipulation maybe as well.
Okay.
Years ago, because I think what's at stake here is that she might like actually panic and draw attention to it because drop a glass or something.
Okay. Hey, got 1 success.
Yeah, her hand shakes and you see just one tear shake down her lip, and she moves backwards and just turns and gives you a like meaningful glance about the attic. Meanwhile, back on the table with Lisa, I believe you were trying to get her to reveal something. She's very reluctant to talk. Even your bluster of not approving with her and hoping she would defend herself, isn't that? She said, "Well, I don't know what you're talking about there." But she does say, "I must retire to bed early, though." She says, like just finishing quickly her glass. The terrible nightmares at this place. I've heard tell of them all around the country. Nobody can sleep when they get here. It's not just the wind. Awful things people say. Men's throats being slit. It's horrible, to be honest. And then she kind of panics and thinks she might have said too much.
There's a kind of spurt of claret goes across the top of the table. The mention of throats being cut stuff.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, I'll let her go because clearly trying to do anything more would be unseemly at this point, if I've not already crossed the line. But I'll sort of waggle my eyebrows at Mr. Rask, which he might take in a number of ways. But what I'm trying to say is we should book rooms here for the night, but I'm just not. I'm just being really weird. My big bushy eyebrows are going up and down on him, so you can interpret that's how he wants. But if he doesn't immediately spring to book rooms, as I hope, I'll go and see if there's rooms for us, so they've got an excuse to hang around for the night, if no other reason, and secretly hope that there's only going to be 2, so the men can share one.
Okay, you can go to. So you go to. Sammy takes your order. He says certainly you can have rooms for the night. That's no problem at all. You seem to have been asking a lot of questions, though.
I'm an affable sort. I'm gregarious. I do like a good conversation. Don't you like a conversation? I thought everybody likes a good talk. Gossip, that's what you get in these small town villages. Lots of that. What have you got to tell me? There must be lots of going on around here. I'll just go into a full-on stream of best rambling sermon mode to talk at him enough that he feels uncomfortable, doesn't want to talk to me anymore or ask me any more questions.
It certainly works. He doesn't want to talk to you anymore. He says you can have your rooms and you can have it there and do it. And as he does that, you see him gesture. He kind of walks out and he seems as if he calls Sophia over to him, and they kind of go into the kitchen and you can hear a little bit. You can't really make out the words. There's a bit of an argument going on. At which point, the door kind of blows open a little bit, and a chill wind comes through the whole of the inn, and you see that the lamps and fires all go dim and take on a bit of a bluish colour, and there's suddenly the fire that you've been kind of clustered around gives no heat at all, and very soon the inn is freezing cold, and you hear a thump and look to see that Lisa first has fallen fast asleep, and soon Lisa, Jonathan, the good father, Olaus as well, who's been kind of keeping himself to himself in the corner. The waiter, you hear a clump and a splash from the kitchen. As one by one, each inhabitant in the inn falls head on the table, and you can hear soft snoring there, and the wind blows and whistles through the inn once again. You feel this as something definitely to do with the Vaesen. This is something magical and something weird, if you hadn't already thought that. I'm going to need you to make a fear test to see if you can resist this. So how you do that is you choose whether you're going to use logic or empathy to resist this, based on how you're going to rationalize it or just kind of power through. This is a fear 1 test, so you need to get 1 success. If you don't, then you're going to be, well, let's cover what happens if you do get afraid. Let's play to see what happens.
I'm going to can I reach into my doctor's bag and pull out a syringe that has a certain cocktail of methamphetamine and barbiturates in it for just this circumstance, and just give myself a little jab in the leg, give myself a squirt. I'm going to logic my way out of this.
Go for it. I'll let you have a +1 as well, gear bonus.
Beautiful. So
just for this 1 fear test, that'll be there, I'm afraid. Not like
all actions for us.
In case there are any more in the course of the adventure, you never know.
I get extra dice if I fear test when faced with dead or dead bodies. I don't think that's
doesn't apply here, really. Sorry,
it's not going to apply. So
yeah,
6, 7 dice, 3 successes for me. The power of barbiturates.
You are wired, and you can see that everyone is just falling asleep, but you're just curious about what's causing it. Maybe it's scientific.
Yeah.
Gaz, what's the father doing to?
He's clutching out his old Bible, which adds inspiration to fear tests. So he's obviously going to trust in his faith to see him through these dark times. Gets 2 successes. So
very good.
Spiritually strong, bless him.
Beautiful.
And Mr. Rask.
I've been vigilant till now. I need to remain vigilant, but that seems unlikely. They may have let me down.
Yeah, unless you want to push this.
Can I give him a kind of a?
Oh, you bloody can't.
I think the answer's no.
What's the downside? Am I likely to succumb to this magical effect if I don't push it?
What will happen is you'll get a mental condition, and you'll be well. Let's play with it. I think let's have it. You're going to get, because if you push it, you're going to get a mental condition anyway.
Yeah.
So without gaming it too much, you might as well. So for 5 rounds, you are terrified, and you can choose how you respond to this, whether you flee, faint, freeze, or attack. Now, attack, there isn't really anything to attack, so that's probably not the most sensible to do. 5 rounds, there's not really anything happening for 5 rounds, but you need to choose one of those: flee, faint, or freeze, which you do in response to this. And you also get yourself a mental condition. So if you want to choose which one of those you're left with after this experience as well.
Okay, I think what I will do then is push it. I want to try and retain my senses and my self-control as much as possible. So is that simply a re-roll of all the dice?
Yeah, re-roll of all of them.
Okay, let's try that again, this time with feeling. Oh, my word.
Oh, no. So
no better, I'm afraid. And I have to take a condition for pushing?
Rock roll.
Yeah, that's 2 then. So.
Do it again!
Can I take... yeah, okay.
Feel like
pushing
hopeless
a second
might be
time,
a
is that a possibility?
Sorry?
Is pushing a second time a possibility?
It's not, because there are only 3 conditions. So
that's what I was thinking. There's got to be a limit. All right. So if I take exhausted for my push,
I'm afraid it needs to be mental, these conditions.
All right. So now I am frightened and hopeless. How's that for my 2 mental conditions?
That seems about right. Yeah. And maybe
everybody else kind of face down in their soup. And I can't see an enemy, so see an enemy.
I'm gonna nicely done. I'm gonna be waggling the syringe at you, and just put it away in my bag.
I'll be placing the Bible down next to you. You shouldn't have had faith.
So you're the thing that's frightening me, and Father, you're making me feel hopeless.
Okay, what you notice, probably not Rask, but the other 2, as this is going on. You see that Sophia runs up the stairs. If I can pick up her actual token, she does a meaningful glance back to Rask again, but you probably don't notice her. But she runs up the stairs. You can see her go right up to the. You reckon she's probably gone right up to the attic. Everyone is asleep apart from her. She's not asleep, and Sammy isn't asleep. The innkeeper. He looks around and says, "This is strange things indeed. Look, you should go to your rooms. You should go to your rooms and like yourself. This I'm sure will pass. I will go and just check that everything's okay outside, and I'm sure it will be okay." And as he's speaking, the fires do kind of come back on, and the wind goes, and it does kind of come back to normal, the warmth. He says, "But you should go back, certainly." And nobody wakes up. They're all still fast asleep.
Okay. That's a weird reaction, but we want to kind of head upstairs anyway, don't we? So
yeah,
I'll nod to the good doctor and say, it seems that Mr. Rask has got ill humours. We should take him somewhere and get him to lie down and loosen his clothes, perhaps, so he can breathe
leave of his senses by the looks of it. The poor fellow. But yes, let's escort him upstairs and perhaps find that young chambermaid who. While you were talking to the mother in the corner, she revealed that she was the puppeteer, as were, and the show was starting in the attic just for us.
Oh well, I can tell you that the woman in the corner was some kind of heroin addict. Yes, that's right. I know I won't catch you misusing drugs, but yeah, she's one of those sorts, and. She said that everyone who stops here has nightmares and such, and that there's even been men had their throats cut in the night, so you must stay awake and alert against insidious Vaesen or other things.
Fascinating. I'm going to pull out a notepad and be right down. Did she mention that everyone shared the same dream? I say with eyes as big as saucers.
Yeah. I can see you as shocked as I am.
Yes.
Yes, very similar dreams, disturbing dreams, and death. And other things happen, so perhaps we should head with all alacrity upstairs.
I think so, although I do find our innkeeper and host, Master Sammy, a curious fellow.
Yes, we can deal with him later, though. I think we must deal with the spirits first.
Well, that was certainly something that that felt like the Vaesen had come. It felt like it had their touch on it, didn't it?
Hmm. And somehow he and the house staff are immune, perhaps. But maybe it's the mother, his wife, who's returned in some way and seeks revenge of some sort. I don't know.
It is curious. I'm not entirely convinced about the veracity of the various tales that are being told about the wife. Well, on one hand, she ran away with a theatre group, and on the other hand, she ran away and promptly died of cholera.
Well, you know what they say, vino veritas, and I'll finish off the bottle of red that we've got.
Quite. Well, let's go and find this young chambermaid and see what she's up to. I don't think she's quite all there, Father.
No, don't worry. We shall exorcise her if necessary.
Quite right. Rask, are you okay?
I can only apologise, mistress. I mean, I really am most discombobulated by this entire situation. It quite put the willies up me.
Well, I mean, I'd rather suggest the next time you listen to your friendly neighbourhood doctor and allow me to administer the proper medical care to protect you from such instances.
Very good, very good, doctor. Under doctor's orders as always.
Fantastic. So you can make your way upstairs through the first floor and then up to the attic where you can go. You can see the little trapdoor with a
little ladder or something.
Little ladder coming down that you can go up. And you find Sophia next to a clockwork shadow theatre. And she says, I'm so pleased you came. Please take a seat. The performance is about to begin.
Okay.
I'm so glad you're my first audience. You're my first audience.
How many seats has she got laid out?
She has 3 laid out.
Okay. 3 chairs.
Did Olaus fall asleep as well?
Yeah. Everyone, even the only people who stayed awake were Sammy and Sophia.
Okay.
The innkeeper and his daughter, and you.
Okay.
You lot. And she gestures to the 3 seats and says, I'm so excited for my first performance. The idea, it came from me. I started having dreams at the beginning of the year, and I couldn't get out of it. I had to write it down and then build this. I never knew I could make it from it. As she kind of starts the contraption up and pulls down some blinds and flicks on a blue oil lamp, and it gives the whole thing a kind of ethereal appearance. You can't really see. As you sit on the chairs, you can't really see behind you. You just focused. The lighting is on this kind of shadow puppet thing that's cranked to do it.
Okay.
Sorry, can I just I just want to point out to Rask as he's clutching his old master's cane that maybe he may get some fortitude from remembering the old boy or something like that.
Yeah.
Remove the condition.
Yeah. you may well be right. As I run my thumb over the silver wolf's head on the top of the cane. Courage, boy.
In my medical opinion, does Sophia seem manic or not quite herself or anything like that?
She seems giddy, and I'm not a doctor.
Right.
Do you want to do a medicine check?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That'll be 7.
Yeah.
So let's have a little roll of those. I'm expecting at least 4 successes, and I get none. Roll 20 is on fire tonight, isn't it? Look at that.
You don't particularly think that she's there's nothing particularly manic about her that you could know. You know, she's excited, and it's maybe obviously your medical mind thinks it's unusual that of all the people that are in the inn, she's one of the 2 apart from you who hasn't fallen asleep. But yeah, it may be that she's just ready to do the play for you.
Okay, that's fine. I'm going to take a seat next to Rask. I'm going to reach into my pocket and my hand's going to fall on the ornamented pipe. And I'm just going to pull it out and just tamp it with a little bit of tobacco. Maybe a good calming medicinal smoke will help calm him down a little bit. He seems, as he says, a little bit discombobulated.
I'll accept it graciously. dabbing at my forehead with a napkin.
Yeah. Apparently, it can be used to heal a condition. So.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it can only be used. It can heal one of your conditions.
Oh, one of mine.
Yeah, you can't use it for somebody else. There is a way you can heal conditions by sharing a scene with another character, and by having like a moment together with that. So we could use that here, I guess. Just the mistress lighting the pipe for the servant.
Yes.
A reminder of your friendship. That's quite a nice.
Yeah, that's quite cool. Yeah, I'll strike a long match, and let him get the embers glowing wonderfully. Big luxurious clouds of blue smoke rolling out, and maybe I'll give him a little arm rub.
Steady.
Right.
In the back shot, that the camera's kind of showing the good father looking disappointed because he was hoping to sit next to Rask, but now you've plunked yourself down in the middle, so he has to sit on the other side. And he's leaning around to try and join in the moment, but he's not really part of it.
Perfect. I love it.
Yeah. So obviously the pipe smoke only adds to the like ghostly mien of the room as you start to watch this, as she cranks it up and starts the clockwork going. And I will. You may have been expecting like a little animated short to play here. What I'd set up. If you're expecting that, you're going to be disappointed. It's me going to be summarising what the performance is.
I thought the animated short was before the main event.
Right, I'm writing that down as a note for where we can improve this scenario.
Right away. So you see, this is all in kind of mime, and Sophia's talking over it. She's narrating what's happening. So you see a young man walking through Europe, visiting Versailles and the Palais Royal. People perform his plays and praise his name, and life is like a dream. But then, when the People's Revolution sweeps the land, he has to flee the song of the guillotine, and returns home to a city in the north, and walks through its gates without shoes, poor and mute. His family is missing, and he's got no friends to know of. So he kneels by the side of the road, takes to begging for coin, no one knowing that his name was once sung amongst the palaces of Europe. But then as he looks in the cracks between life, he sees things that nobody else does. Strange creatures, flying and crawling, trolls, the invisibles, revealing themselves to him. When he points them out to his fellow vagrants on the road, he's mocked and beaten by them. A man picks him up from the street and has him bathed and clothed. The man's name is Albert, and his mansion is a place of love and song. Our young hero performs his plays and songs to him for days and nights, and they eat fruit and drink wine. Albert introduces his friends. In the young man's dreams, they are all dancing together. Just that the light flickers now from the torch, but the dreams lie. It was you brought me here. You asked me to sit down and talk. We spoke of the future of the world. I had the right to refuse. You said so and smiled. Then you butchered me like a pig one hangs from the ceiling, buried my body in unholy ground. Now dreams are all I have left. I gaze out over the audience at the Palais Royal. I dance with a princess. I eat cake. I look into your eyes, Albert, and I let you take my dirty hand. You summon me to Piddy's Inn. You make me a proposition, and I decline. You cut me. I scream, not wanting to die. At last, you are back. Welcome. And at the welcome, the light flickers and comes on again. And from the darkness behind you, a creature, a corpse appears, stood there, maggots falling out of its flesh and eyes, and just is stood behind you and reaches, opens his mouth and screams and rushes towards you. And you all see this creature of the dead rush towards you. You feel as if it's gonna crawl into your very souls, but then it vanishes. And all is gone. I'm going. Sorry. Well, before it vanishes, I'm going to need a fear test.
Fear test, right?
Yeah. Let's not go to that.
So I know it's going to vanish. I feel better about it.
Yeah. Well, what will it take of you though? This is a fear test 2, so it's you need 2 successes to completely.
Oh my word! And do we have a choice of stat and skill, or is it just a narration part?
It's empathy or logic. There is a rule that I'll be completely honest, I forgot before, that you do get a bonus to fear tests of +1 for every extra player character in the scene. So you all do actually get 2 extra dice.
Oh, that's good.
Sorry,
I'm going to need them. I think.
Sorry, Baz, about that before. Because,
it's all right.
Cool.
That's okay. I'd healed all my previous conditions with a mixture of my master's cane and a shared moment with the good doctor. So I'm in as good a position as ever to use my cold, hard logic. I'm still reeling from the artistic merits of that shadow play, and I pieced the bits together. So hopefully my investigation will be enough to carry me through.
Can you apply a skill to it as well?
No, it's just the thing, but you get +2 from it as well. That's fine. Yeah.
Fool me once, you won't fool me twice.
I try and hit it with my Bible, but it disappears before I can impact.
I'm gonna give a sideways look at Mr. Rask and think to myself, yes, that crumbled bit of opioid in the pipe did just the trick.
The upper lip was stiffened.
Yeah, it's almost as if you knew it was going to vanish momentarily as it rushes through you. But this creature does indeed fly through you and then disappears. The lights are on, and Sophia sits in a corner, like sobbing, as if she didn't. By the end of her narration, it didn't sound like her voice at all. It sounded like a man's voice from the past. The theatre's still there. The shadow theatre's still there, but now in the regular light, it doesn't look. It just looks a bit weird now without the kind of stage lighting on it.
I'm going to go and try and calm it down and suggest that everything's going to be all right, and all the other things I've learned from trying to make people feel better over my years as a member of the clergy, with classy speech and empty words.
She says, I don't know what happened. Do you want to roll me an empathy?
I do.
Kind of whatever. Inspiration is the one, yeah. Trying to cheer up.
Come now, dear. Everything's better if you talk about it. I'm sure you get it all off your chest. Tell Father. 4 successes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. She says, "Oh, I'm so glad you. I don't know what happened there. It was as if it wasn't speaking." And she looks over at the shadow theatre. It's almost like she's seeing it for the first time, as if she doesn't recognise it as her own work. I don't know what came over me. I started writing. I started seeing after my mother saw the witch cat ghost. I think I started to see it here. Strange dreams where I'm a man. I'm walking around the inn. 3 people come and visit me, and then my throat being slit. It's awful. Oh, if only my mother were here, she would understand. She knew about such things, such occultism. My father would have none of that. But sadly she's gone. She left, and then, well, she's long dead now. We haven't opened her room ever since she left the day.
No, but you have the key to her room, of course. Or it's not locked.
It's locked. Yes, I don't know. Surely, if
you forget there's the key, though, perhaps we should go and spruce it up. If I say a prayer in the room, that might help put your mum's spirit more at ease and make you feel better to know that someone's gone and done a proper job in there of looking after her spiritual well-being. Perhaps that will give you some comfort.
So yeah, well, I suppose I could see if I could find it. I think my father kept the key, though. He was very insistent that we didn't go in there. And then she looks around at the attic and at the performance space and starts kind of moving stuff around. So if he finds this, he'll be so angry. He'll be so angry. It'll be just like with Mother. And I don't want to have to run away. She starts moving chairs around and doing it. While this is going on, Rask or Dorothea, do you want to, if you want to have a little search of the room, a look at the theatre?
Yeah, I was just thinking I might pull out my. I have a large magnifying glass in my doctor's bag for examining patients, and I'm going to pull that out and be sleuthing around the room.
Very good. I think that's investigation.
I think so. Yeah, I'll join the doctor in investigation.
Well,
should we have? Do you want to help? So whoever's got the best dice pool,
I'll help the doctor. I think I'm a service to her, so that would make sense.
Cool.
So you get an extra dice for that.
Lovely. And do I get one for having a magnifying glass as well?
I don't think that's.
Okay.
I'm going to say no at this point because there's not little things to find.
3 successes.
Oh, but you've found loads out here. So the main thing that's interesting here is the Shadow Theatre. The construction of it is extremely complicated. You don't think, like, I think, Dorothea, you think that, possibly if you trained and studied for a year or so, you could maybe, with your surgeon's hands, produce something of such intricacy. But it would take a master puppeteer to put this stuff together, how it works with that.
Way beyond a novice's hands.
Oh, certainly, yeah. And certainly a young girl out in the middle of nowhere. Rask, as you're looking at it, the thing that you notice is the clothing, the styles of such things, the kind of things that possibly people of your servant class would wear now. They're late 18th century styles. It's quite distinctive. People of today would never think of wearing such a ridiculous cut of trouser from them. Those hats are so passé. You've seen them in museums, and maybe when you first started serving, they were the fashion. But very unusual that a girl would even know to have that. And they're really detailed. It's really, really intricate, and see what you can see from there.
Understood.
Yeah. Well, when we send her off to try and find the key or whatever, that gives us a chance to kind of share information a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It does.
And share those findings.
What do we make of it?
So
we put together the clues. What picture is this painting? A picture of supernatural malfeasance, I would say.
Yeah, it feels like Oscar Huerta has come back in spirit form somehow, and is possessing this girl to get things out. Feels like perhaps this place was known by another name at some point. There's some unhallowed ground that he's buried in, which might be around here somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
That's something we can investigate. And it sounds like the mother was some kind of medium or something. And whether she actually ran off or anything, or her angry husband did away with her at some point. I think there's definitely something to be found by getting into a room one way or the other to see what other clues might be there. So
I wouldn't be surprised to find a relationship between the wife and Oscar. Oh no, Oscar was alive many years before, wasn't he?
He might be distant family relation of some sort.
Maybe distant family relations.
Or just happened to live around here at the time. And then there's the mention of the witch cat, whether that's actually a thing. Maybe there's that's what's causing all these spiritual problems, maybe.
At your mention of burial, did you notice as we entered this establishment that there were some grounds around the back area of it?
Indeed.
Yeah, so there's a conservatory, there's some grounds, there's like some trees, orange groves. The cellar that you could see, you probably know about it. It's a root cellar, so it's like a kind of conical structure where you'd keep potatoes and tubers and stuff in the kind of cold for food storage, really. So it's like an above ground cellar.
Yeah. So our immediate leads, I think, are to look in the mother's room somewhere to check out that back area, like you say, because there could be something or someone buried in it. And I think there's a potential for confronting Sammy, but that might be our last resort, because once we do that, then there's no going back, is there?
He doesn't seem to have a good reputation for being open-minded. I say we go down the stairs and try and force the lock on the wife's room and have a nose about. I don't think we'll get permission to look in there.
Okay, well it's on the way out anyway, so let's do that.
Agreed.
Okay, just as you're making your decision to leave, you hear a scream from the second floor. I'll just move that person down, and Sophia's not there either. And you can hear a scream and some banging from the first floor of the. Sorry, just getting confused with it being labelled as second floor instead of first floor. It shouldn't have fooled me, but it did for a moment. Of the inn, and you can hear the screaming is in fact Sophia's sound, Sophia's voice.
I shall leap down the trapdoor to her defence.
We'll skedaddle down there.
Okay, and you
I'll
can
draw my service revolver and bound down the stairs.
As you make there, you can hear there's a commotion in the room at the end of the corridor, which is indeed Sammy's room. As you bound down, Sophia is going in. Sammy is stood hanging from the ceiling. He's attached to a rope and he's kind of kicking away. He's just kicked a chair away and is kind of thrashing about on there. There's something kind of written across his chest. His chest been ripped open, and there's something kind of written across his chest there. And Sophia's kind of running around trying to like hold him up and desperately trying to do it, but as he chokes and seems kind of close to death. What do you do?
Run under him and get him up onto my shoulders and try and lift him up with Sophia's aid. I'm a big man. I think I can hoist him.
Go for it. I think that's a force check to hoist him up and down.
Physique plus force. Now we're talking.
I'll give you a die for that by lifting his other leg.
Yeah.
Oh, this can't possibly fail. Oh, we've got the drama delay. One successful. Thank you very much, Father. Without you,
it was
literally without you.
Yeah, you managed to like hoist him up and get the rope off him, and you see him. And Dorothy, he is clearly delirious as you get down.
Yeah,
he's like, no,
doctor.
He's like, no, I deserve to die. I must die. And he starts looking around the room for and goes for it. Sees a knife on the on the board and kind of goes for it. And you hold it back. I deserve to die. I killed them. I killed them all.
All right, mild sedative time.
Get him in, Doctor. Get him in.
For you.
Yeah, for me, and then I'll deal with him. No, I'll come in, doctor's bag, open it up, flick the syringe, jab it into his leg, mild sedative, try and calm him down a little bit.
Go for it. You're going to calm him down, but do you want to give me a medicine test to see like what you learn from his condition in doing this in what he's doing?
How is that even possible with 7 dice?
You can push. You can push if you want.
I
get to roll all 7 again.
think I will push. I'm going to get angry.
Yeah,
I knew it.
1 success.
It was worth getting angry for, though, as you fumble for the sedative and maybe you're out of it. Someone's been at your stash. You've used more than you expected.
It might be the speed that's kind of like making me a bit jittery.
Getting a bit roidy.
Yeah. That wasn't in the trigger warnings at the start of the show, but we'll just edit it in the player character drug use. You calm him down, and he does. He kind of calms down, but almost as soon as you've calmed him down, he falls just fast asleep.
Okay.
Almost like the others in the inn. You can see though where his shirt is kind of ripped open. Written on it in what you can appears to be blood is Piri the traitor.
That is not a name we've heard before, is it?
No, I don't think so.
In your research, it was actually. So Piri was was his grandfather was the old innkeeper.
Oh, okay. I thought you said Hiri. Piri. Okay. Cool. All right.
Okay.
Piri the traitor was a bit harsh to say that about your grandfather.
I think with that medicine check, you also know that he wasn't. This wasn't a normal kind of delirium that he was having. He was fine a minute ago, and then he was in there. You almost see as you get a bit of that blue light in his eyes that you had when the wind came in. This is something that's not just in your medical books.
Okay. What's happened to him? Look, I'm going to take his pulse and his temperature and any keys that he might have on him as part of my medical examination. I
think there's a whole roll of keys for the inn.
Okay, I'll palm them over to Rask as I've kind of put them back, and then get Sammy into bed. Make sure he's properly sedated. Do we want to have a rummage around in his room as well? Find a diary where he confesses to killing to his wife would be kind of useful.
I'll take Sophia out to. She's got her own room, hasn't she? So I'll take her back
Yeah.
to her room to get her out of the way and just calm her down and get her to
Calm
bed
down,
and stuff.
yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's not much of any use. He lives a very austere life. He's not got a journal or anything. You see that there's just one. He's got a little card that is the funeral service of Nora, which is his wife. It's being held in Uppsala though. It's being held not near where he was.
Okay.
It
But
doesn't.
does that imply he attended his wife's funeral a long way away?
And sorry, I was going to say, and there's like a little note on the back saying, "Sammy, I thought you'd want this," and kind of thing. So maybe implying he didn't.
Okay. Interesting. Do we recognise the handwriting?
It's not any
Okay.
of the things that you've seen before.
All right. Okay. Fair enough. It's not the handwriting of Piri the traitor, then. Does that look self-administered? The writing on his chest.
No, it does not. It doesn't look like he did it himself. It looks like it was put on. As he kind of falls asleep, it's fading a little bit as well.
Okay.
Actually,
So
almost as if it's not.
interesting.
It's something again magical that might have happened.
Right. So it was like a marking on his skin as opposed to ink or blood or something like that. Okay, that's
Yeah.
interesting. All right. Cool. Okay, I'll ease myself out into the corridor then. Hopefully Rask is at Nora's room.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you have. I'll say you have got keys to it, so you can open it and indeed go into Nora's room,
Okay.
which is kept, you think, exactly as it has been. There's a bed, a desk, there's a closet, a bookcase, and there are quite a few paintings as well of all kinds of things. Some landscapes, some pictures of kind of little pastoral scenes and so on in all kinds of styles. The whole thing is like covered in dust, though. It's really obvious that nobody's been in here for a while, and there's quite a feeling of stillness in it. You can see the bookcase doesn't have many books in, and what it does sense with it, but there is you notice a journal in there as well. That's
Ignore that completely. Of course not. My eyes alight upon it
We just
and gleam with avarice.
fling it out the window. Not important.
Put it somewhere and instantly forget I've got it. I'll produce it with a flourish to my companions. Look, a journal. And
Excellent
unwrap
work,
the leather
Rask.
thong around it.
Excellent work.
fantastic. And you can look as you begin to do so. You can begin to start to read through it. Just as you're finding the most recent dates and kind of getting adjusted to the handwriting stuff, there is just a little gust of wind again through the window.
So ripple the
Father,
pages.
Father Eric, could you just make me an observation check? You're going to need to beat my roll here as well.
I'm going to hold Bishop O'Neill's words then to heart to keep an eye out in times of danger.
Yeah,
It's the little things that you may miss, etc.
yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yes. The bishop's words ring in your eyes. You feel something kind of creeping into your mind and trying to kind of tempt you. You feel, you get a momentary flashback to the three of you being involved in some kind of murder at the inn, and it's you three, and feeling that you must kill the other two in order to kind of get vengeance on it. But then, luckily, you hold the bishop's words in your hand and realise that this is just a work of some kind of foul magics that's tempting you.
Stay strong.
Can I discern where it's coming from? Do I if I rush to the window, do I see anything there, or do I see the wind brushing through the trees in a direction or anything like that?
Not quite. It's definitely from outside. It's definitely from somewhere outside. And as you look around the grounds, it feels like it is somewhere in the grounds. I think that's reasonable. It's not. It's not. You can't place it as something there, but it's certainly.
There's something outside in the grounds. That's fine. Yeah, I shall relate all this immediately to my companions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you can go to the journal. So I'm going to summarize the journal for you because it's got quite a lot of stuff in it, and this would be one of those moments in a tabletop. If it's face to face,
animation.
I'd hand out. Even if I had like a handout to you, I'd hand it, and it'd take somebody half an hour to read it. So I'll summarize what she's doing. It's quite a lengthy handout. This. She talks about seeing the ghost. There's several entries about seeing the witch cat ghost in the inn and being disturbed from it as if someone was walking towards him. She tells her husband, Sammy, that he gets angry with her. She's worried about her daughter because her daughter's so much like her, and she thinks that when she gets older, she'll see the ghosts, see the things in there. Later on, she mentions it to Sophia, and it turns out Sophia's having the same dreams, a man being killed, a murderer sneaking up behind him and cutting his throat with a knife, the body buried in unconsecrated ground, and suddenly it's my body in the grave, I've been buried alive. And then eventually she keeps having this recurring dream, and soon she understands what he's saying. He's whispering Piri to it. She remembers after a while that this is Sammy's grandfather who used to run the inn. And there were lots of old letters in the attic as well. She says, among them I found a stack of messages all signed with Piri's name, written in some kind of code and addressed to someone in Uppsala. Later on, you find out that she decodes this. As Piri writes of his guilt and feelings of remorse over a murder he committed. He killed a man named Oscar Hjort by slitting his throat. This happened during a meeting with 3 people from Uppsala. One of them was named Albert. Had asked him to join something he called the Society. Oscar was unwilling to cooperate. What he meant to do, I'm not sure, but they buried the body somewhere in the garden. Instead of having a priest consecrate the ground, they desecrated the body with magic. Fears that he's damned the inn and condemned himself to hell. Later on, she says that she's worried about Sophia. Sophia's been quiet and withdrawn for some time now. She tries to talk to her, but she just dreams of setting up a theatre. She sends an invitation to the Troll Dreams Theatre troupe to try and inspire Sophia, but then later Sammy finds the letter and gets angry, and she realizes she has to run away from them. So she leaves, taking the letters with her. She says, when I return, I'll show them to Sophia, and then perhaps we'll return to the witch cat when Sammy has died or come to his senses. Then we can go looking for ghosts together.
Does it give any indication why Sammy is so angry with the situation?
There's not really in here. Do you want to make, though, now that you've got this big piece of information, though, you can, in fact, make a learning roll to try and piece together what you've got in terms of your Vaesen knowledge as well.
If we have a group discussion about it, do we then get...
Certainly, yeah. That'll give you a help dice and stuff.
I can help, yeah.
Okay. Maybe talk about what you're doing with it.
Yeah, no, so we'll chat that out. Honestly, I'm going to take another condition. Feeling a little bit hopeless, but it's fine because I'm going to be lighting my pipe with a little bit of opium. And 3 successes. There you go.
Much better with the pipe. So
I'll use the pipe to get rid of one of my conditions, which is the hopeless one. I'm going to stay angry at this situation.
So you note that everything that you've put together and looking in the books and stuff that Father Eric you brought, this seems to be the work of a revenant, a restless spirit. Filled by hate against those who have wronged it in life. It can take the form of a rotten corpse, like the one you saw in the attic, and it can draw the very life out of a person. It can also control people's minds, and as you read the descriptions, the kind of flowery prose of what that feels like, Eric, you recognise that from what happened to you. With 3 successes, you can work out how to deal with them as well. What you need to do is bury its remains in, obviously, consecrated ground.
Okay. So we need to find the remains.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be too difficult if they're on the grounds. There's not that much grounds.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we still don't get to the bottom why Sammy is so angry about stuff.
Why do we need to know that? We just need to stop this revenant, right?
I don't know, it just feels like he's perpetually angry about something, and
He's lost his wife. There's an undead spirit haunting his.
No, he was angry before that. It was his anger that sent her away.
Maybe. I feel that as investigators, if we deal with the revenant, then Sammy's a secondary issue.
Yeah. The other thing that I'm curious about is the ghost of a witch cat as well. That's been mentioned a couple of times in this journal. That's curious as well.
All things to consider, but shall we try and find the bones of the revenant first as the most pressing issue? It nearly took over my mind just moments ago, and I'd hate to dally and give it a chance to try again.
I mean, do we assume that the bodies or the mortal remains are in near proximity because of the fact this is where the revenant is appearing?
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say, in our investigation so far, I think that spirits have inhabited the places where they die. They never stray too far.
Okay, interesting. All right. If this was a movie and Sammy was somehow involved, would we would have a scene where we might find some curious coloured mud on the bottom of his boots as he's lying in bed snoring gently with the sedatives coursing through his veins? Is there something like that?
And an orange in his pocket or something.
Yeah.
There was not a like some grave dust all over him or something.
Okay, that's fine.
It wasn't. You're quite right. There would be a smoking gun kind of thing that pointed. There wasn't anything that really linked you, and you would knowing this now, I think, Doctor, with what you know about the about now, you know it's a revenant and know what the ghost of it is. It's possible he was enthralled.
Okay.
Like the father was before,
right.
nearly before.
That's
fine.
What's we'll eliminate him from our inquiries. Okay. Well, I suggest that we brave the inclement weather and have a little look around in the outside.
Of course. To the gardens.
Okay, as you venture outside into the gardens, everybody else is so far still fast asleep, snoring in there. And as you leave the inn, the wind whips around and the rain batters down. It's still several hours till dawn here, and you can commence to search the grounds for clues. I think this is probably an investigation test and
Sounds
probably
likely.
a group test where one of you will roll and the other two help.
Okay.
That seems to be to find
I've got
signs of where somebody could be buried.
7. Okay.
Yeah, I think the best investigator is the doctor, isn't it? Aren't they? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always think so. I'll dig where I'm told.
I will.
I'll just stand behind going, have you checked in there? Have you looked in there yet? What about over here?
I'll find it slightly annoying,
Mansplaining
but annoying because it's actually useful. Oh God, 1 success. What is wrong with Roll20 tonight?
That's enough. That's enough.
About right, to be honest. I'll talk to you about successes afterwards in the after show.
Okay.
Yeah. So you are searching. You manage to look through. The conservatory has tumbled down. The stable has nothing in it. The storage is nearly empty. The one place that seems to be still in good repair is the root cellar. And as you kind of open the door to that, 2 things happen. As you open it, within it is a huge dark cave, vastly bigger than what the cellar looked like on the outside.
Ooh.
The walls have shelves of food crawling with maggots, bugs and rats.
Not good.
There's a strong wind rolling through it. fragments of Oscar's voice can be heard whispering, talking about my right to decline. You let Piri kill me, Katya, Hilma. You can keep your society. You can keep your society. I'll never join it. And you have a vision of a young man with expensive clothes and eyes, looking to the side at someone who cannot be seen, and his neck bursts open as if cut by a knife, gushing blood, and he falls to the ground. He tries to scream, but only lets out a gurgling sound, and his body decays in an instant and is covered with maggots. As you see this vision, I'm going to need a fear test. This is a fear 1 test. And then I'll tell you what else is happening.
I'm going to go logic and use my army medic.
Oh, yeah, because it's a dead body. So
Jesus Christ, I shout out. Not in vain, like actually asking for his help.
He won't help you.
No, I didn't.
This will help you.
I didn't know.
Okay, I'm gonna work with vigilance here. Keeping an eye on everyone's back. Oh Lord.
Before you decide whether you push or not, what you also notice is from the inn, the sleeping people are moving out with kind of baleful blue eyes and are moving like sleepwalking towards you, rolling up their sleeves with malicious intent towards you.
Upsetting.
So that may affect whether you want to push this roll or not.
I don't know whether I want to or not now.
Yeah. Okay. I think I will. I think I will push.
I'll do it as well because you are.
Yeah. So let's see. You know what? I actually rolled 1 dice too few last time. So I wonder if I could maybe not have to push if I just try that extra dice I missed.
Try that extra dice.
Yeah, I do have to push.
I'm angry and frightened.
Wow.
Okay, it's successful with the push, so I still have to take a mental condition. Is that correct?
Yeah, for the push. And
clearly
that's the
angry.
thing. You need to take 2. Remember, when you are terrified, so you can flee, faint, freeze, or attack. Which you go for?
I think I'd attack because I'm going for frightened and angry, so I think I'll lash out at people.
Yeah, that sounds good. Right. Well, should we roll initiative? You've got a revenant in the root cellar, and you've got his sleeping people around there. You don't need to necessarily, like, you can do non-combat stuff as well in it. You don't just need to. Doesn't need to just be a big fight. I will roll for him as well.
So, just for the idea, would we be rushing to try and like get to the bones of the revenant, or would it be a fight? Is that in terms of how the game normally works? Is that
at the moment you think that he's he must be buried in here, but he's like stood above where you think he's buried.
Right,
so you might be able to persuade him or
do some other thing, yeah.
Let him know that you're not the people that he thinks you are, or let him let you sort his bury his bones, if you see what I mean. So,
if I was angry and frightened, I might be able to do
that. yeah. So initiative is lowest first, and the tie break is just for if you do it. So I think
I was excited by the 10.
You can keep that excitement until the end of the round.
We'll see.
So that'll be
in the critical green colour as well, isn't it?
I know.
Green that's annoying.
As the saying never says.
Yeah. And the sleepers, aren't they? Okay, so the first person to act is the Revenant, Oscar, and so you feel he steps forward. And there's a deathly cold envelops. I think it'll be you, Doctor, as he reaches out to you. Can you make me an observation test to try and resist this magic, which he is doing?
Do I get any bonuses for a copious amount of drugs?
Don't think so.
3 1s.
Can push it if you want. At the moment, you're going to be taking 3 conditions, and you're going to be broken.
You're allowed to feel aggrieved about that roll. I'll let you have that one.
Yeah.
I am frightened and going to push.
Ooh.
Honestly, like.
Oh, actually, sorry. You're not necessarily broken because they can be physical or mental conditions, and until you've got 3 of both, you're not broken. So you can get this as this cold goes through your veins. So, what are your conditions?
Well, angry, frightened. How many conditions? 3.
3 more, yeah.
I'm broken. I'm not going to be able to avoid it.
Okay, so you drop to the floor with the freezing grasp of the Revenant around you. The next to respond is Gaz, your father. You are panicking as these sleepwalkers move towards you.
Yeah, I'm forced to attack in some way because I failed my fear test and I'm angry and frightened. So what I do is try and grab the Revenant and shove him out the door. So that might, block the door from anybody else getting in as well. I'm trying to fling him from the place so that we have a chance to get to his remains and put him to rest somehow.
Fantastic. That's going to be resisted by his his body control.
Yeah. Can I use force for that, or is that?
Yeah, that is force. Force is unarmed combat, so that is the.
And because my conditions are mental, they don't affect my physical.
Don't affect physical actions, no.
Good.
Oh,
crikey! Too powerful for me.
Yeah.
Perhaps I pull out a couple of his ribs and fling them back, but it's not. So.
It's not. Yeah.
The majority of his body stays in place.
He's not moving from it. He's like he screams, "You come to kill me again?
You bastards!" I scream in his face.
I'll just roll to see how many rounds you have to keep attacking for. Oh, 5, right? Okay. So yeah.
If I last that long.
Yeah. So the sleepers are acting now, and you can see they just move to block the doorway. It's the 3 guests first that are just moving in to not let you leave this area. They're not actually attacking yet, but they are just holding to try and bank you in. What is Mr. Rask doing now?
I think I'm going to throw myself upon this Revenant that's thrown itself upon the good father, grab it by its revenanty lapels, and throw it away from my companion.
Show it the door.
Correct.
Fantastic.
Try and do what the father singularly failed to do.
Okay, let's see. I know you rolled 90 dice there versus you. That's not right. You've got to beat 2 successes to...
young friend. Okay, so physique of 4 and force of 3 should make him slightly frightened. But the fact that I'm tough as nails gives me +2 to my force.
It does, yeah.
So, oh man, 9 dice, no successes. What?
Yeah.
You can push it.
Yeah, push it real good.
I'm looking at the father through the Revenant. He's going, push it. I think I'm going to have to push it, and with that, I'll take exhausted as the physical cost.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I can't go anymore. I'm exhausted.
Yeah,
and
you can't.
now.
You're tossing him around, but he's not having it. He won't do that. He says, "You're just attacking me. I have no chance to do it." Okay, we get to Matt now. You
Strength
are
of the grave.
Yeah, you're broken, which means you're well, the first thing we need to do you want to roll me 2d6s and we'll work out are you broken in mental or physical way from that attack?
I'm broken in mental, and I have 2 physical conditions as well.
Wow.
That was savage.
Okay, it's actually a d66 to see what your mental
54
is.
then.
So you are in a dream state.
Aren't they normally pleasant?
So you'll be at -2 to fear tests, and you'd have a defect of nightmares. This also means that you need to be treated by someone with inspiration before, like within the next few hours, or that becomes a like permanent defect that you have as you are kind of wibbling around with this. I think probably we'll say in your dream state you're afflicted with visions of what happened to this, and you flip between consciousness of the Revenant, Oscar, and yourself,
Right.
and of him a meeting at the inn with 3 society members, 2 men and a woman, and them turning on them, offering him something that he then refused, and him trying to escape, but then his throat being cut by the innkeeper.
Okay.
But yeah, you're broken. You can't really act now until somebody inspires you to get you back on your feet.
All right.
With that, it is the Revenant next.
Good.
He's gonna just stay trying to resist your physical movements though, because he took a defense last round, so he's just rolling around trying to stop you from that, and it's just gonna soliloquize and just say, "You'll never escape. You'll never escape. I'll finally get my revenge on you." What's the good father doing now?
Probably will. It doesn't seem like an opportune time to bring out my plans for a family tomb to heal a condition. So instead, I'm going to have to persist in trying to like bodily move him. I think that's something. Given my failed fear test, I have to kind of pursue that course, I think. So I get 1 less dice, I think, because I pushed last time, didn't I? I'm exhausted. Okay, so just 5 dice this time. I'm desperately looking around for some more I could get from somewhere else, but I don't think there is. I think that's just it. So I'll roll out.
2 successes you got to get. Ooh.
Just 1. So what do we think, guys? I might as well push.
I think no. I'm going to be hopefully following up your example, and I'm frankly better at it than you.
Yeah, I'm just thinking because I've already got 1 success, I could push to roll the other 4 dice, and I might get the other one to.
Oh, is that the way it works? Perhaps you chuck
keep
the
your
whole cluster again.
Yeah.
Oh, in that case, that changes things, mate. Yeah, the odds are with you then, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, as good as they're going to get, frankly. It's a downward spiral for me. So just roll 4 dice again.
Yeah.
I'm now battered as he just keeps pushing me off into jars of maggots and things and banging my heads on shelves and stuff as I try.
Yeah, you can see just beyond him. There's like a pile of rough bones that are in a sack that you can see are probably that remain remarkably fresh. That look suspiciously like they might be important here as he's kind of pushing you away from them and stuff. Baz, what's Mr. Rask doing now?
Well, the good father is starting to succumb, obviously more and more exhausted by this. But I think 1 more try before I have to change tactics. I'm going to put brute force into this and F this Revenant away from us. My exhaustion is going to take 1 dice out of the pool, but it's nothing. It's 3 successes, tough as nails.
Yeah. So you can push and roll. You'd roll 6. You keep the 2 successes, and you'd.
I've got 3. Oh no!
I've got 3.
looking at exactly the wrong thing. Oh, because I got the bottom one. Oh no! I thought I'd got 3, and you'd got 2. So, I have to curse you. All right, it's going to hurt, but the father's been hurt, and my other companion is out. So I think I'm going to re-roll 6.
Just need 1. You just need 1 to get hold of it. You can.
Don't say that out loud, honestly. Oh, that's good. There we are.
Yeah, he barrels.
Exhausted and angry with the GM.
Aside. Yeah. And you can see the root cellar begin to kind of collapse beyond you as this happens. There's a moment here, Matt, where you're in this kind of fugue state, and you can see Oscar in front of you as a young man, and he's talking to you, and he's saying, "Why have you come here? Why have you come here to to try and kill me again? What is it here?
Oh no, we weren't. We didn't come here to kill you. We came here by invitation, and we've discovered a terrible, terrible story, an incredibly sad story, and all we want to do is find a way of bringing you peace.
You would bring me peace?
Do you like this existence?
I've known no peace for 50 years. Of course I don't like it. What would you do to bring me peace?
Well, we are experts in this matter, and it's been shown many times over that if we are able to lay your mortal remains to an appropriate rest, then your ties to this existence will be severed, and you can go on to a peaceful existence.
So that's a manipulation roll.
Oh, good! I'm really good at them.
It's not opposed though. It's not opposed.
It's opposed by roll 20.
There we go.
You're
Another
really
one.
nice, Phil, to be fair.
I've now rolled 11 dice and had 9 ones.
Did you not have a usually thing that you get advantage for? Have you tried to throw that into something yet? Remember,
You could throw it in. Throw on the extra 2 dice from your advantage. I can't remember what it was that you.
Because we're all about to die, so it feels like if you don't use it soon, it'll go to the grave with you.
Another
It's
one.
the grave with us, that's fine.
Another one.
At least you're not bitter about it.
He says, "No, you shall die here tonight."
yeah, I guess so.
Why would I trust you?
This revenant has been brought to you by Roll 20. Oh man! Well, look, it's a dice game. That's what happens.
This is what happens, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right. So let's just take stock at the start of the round. And the Revenant paused momentarily as the Doctor kind of stumbled forward to it and seemed to stop and be amenable to discussion from this in this weird kind of dream state. But certainly, you feel as if attacking it. It's much stronger than you and he's jumping around, and you can see that the sleepers at the door are kind of looking angrily on with this, trying to prevent you from doing this.
Yeah.
What are your plans? Let's have a little moment where the father and Rask and maybe Dorothea from within her fugue state take stock of what's happening.
Whispering in her sleep. I mean, personally, right from the start, I would have liked to do something different, but I failed the fear test. I don't think it's technically within the rules, but if you allow me, because of all the battering I've taken, to reassess my life choices, I'd much prefer to try and persuade this Reverend that we're here to help, rather than just try and ineffectually beat at it like Mr. Burns. Would be my view, but that's probably bending the way the rules work a bit.
I mean, it sounds, as you'd expect, that sounds entirely reasonable. You've been throwing yourself against this Revenant, and it's not really doing anything. And you were motivated by fear, and you have just had this moment of pause where you've seen the Doctor go down and then have this communication. I think if the two of you could step in at this moment where it appears to be, it's not convinced by the Doctor's words, but maybe you can convince it to.
We could share a look, couldn't we, Father?
I think my old Bible will have fallen from my pocket during all the scuffles.
Yeah.
And, the chill, ill winds have flashed it to the page of consecration rites or whatever, and that gives us a moment of clarity. So look, old man, we're here to lay you to rest, to take you from this foul cellar. Heed my words, and you can finally get some rest.
So if we do again, like clear stakes here. So if this going to be a manipulation test, you can help each other.
I will.
If you are so successful, you'll manage to persuade him to kind of call off the people, and you can successfully do it. If you don't, though, you're going to be running away from the Witch Cat Inn with your tails between your legs and a Revenant still on the loose there to kind of lick your wounds back at Uppsala with as many questions left unanswered as there were there. If that sounds fair enough. So it come down to this roll here.
Take a dice from me, mate.
Okay. It's not going to be a great pill. I don't think this counts as a confidential conversation because you're helping me.
Is it better if he doesn't?
In fact, if you don't help
Is
me,
it better if I shut up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just give us a moment.
If you're in the doorway, like holding back all the others or something,
That's probably a better use of my skill set.
or dragging the doctor away or something like that. Then I can
Exactly, yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, that fits.
I'll be lifting my master mistress.
So that, with the penalties, gives me 6 dice to roll.
I like these. I like these dice. I've always liked these dice.
1.
Yeah, especially the 4th one.
Yeah. Okay. I think he. You see the Revenant glance down, and he catches the eye of the Bible as well, and goes and looks back and just pauses. I don't think it's as clear cut as that, but pauses long enough, Father, for you to snatch up the bag of bones, and to you can quickly kind of hot foot it, maybe out and down to that church and
down the road, yeah.
yeah, and do a quick, healthy consecrate with these sleepwalkers kind of going behind you, like as it does, and you're just able to, as you bury it, and perform a kind of hasty burial. You're able to kind of to lay the soul of Oscar Hjort to rest in the nick of time. You will, Dorothea, continue to be plagued by this dream state unless you are treated by one of your fellows with an inspiration check, because it's a mental condition. So
Try.
I think, are you pretty good at inspiration?
I am, when I'm not like
Rolling like
angry,
this.
frightened, exhausted, and battered.
Shattered. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like not quite broken, but I'm close. Yeah, we'll give it. I'll make the roll, and Mr. Rask can help me with this one, so I'll grab a die for that. Puts me on 6 dice again.
With my broken inspiration 0, help yourself to my help.
Cool. So, let's just role play this out. How are you managing to get the doctor back to the straight and narrow?
So, despite her secular nature, it's the actual that last minute taking the bones to consecrated ground and putting to the rest, and me putting my hands on the doctor and saying, look, come round, see how the Lord has said it this last time. Have just that modicum of faith, that little bit of spirituality, and those dreams will no longer curse you and haunt your dreams. Stick to your science if you want, with those spirits whirling around your head. But now, on this dark night, just this once, have one modicum of respect for the Lord, and he will save you.
Okay, fantastic.
I'm convinced.
And we just see the sunrise and the little kind of shadow of the church spire appearing there as you've done it. And the back at the inn, Sammy and Sophia, as you go back, you notice that it's not quite as tumbled down as it was. It is as if a curse has been lifted. The guests from last night are all recovering in the dining room. Sammy still seems just as grumpy and as unhappy as before. It does feel as if some peace has been returned to the witch cat from there. As we kind of fade out of this, so this is on the. Let's just do a little on the coach back to Uppsala. What do we see of each of our heroes as a little ending scene to round it off? If we start maybe with the doctor.
I think the doctor. You might see her slipping a Gideon Bible into her doctor's bag and snapping the bag shut and heading out towards the coach. Nice. I like it. The father, what's Eric doing?
He needs to make some space in his life suitcase for the journal and other books and notes that he's found around this place. So he not unhappily pulls out the bottle of Chateau Latour he's been saving and pops the cork on that. So he can stuff an extra couple of books in the suitcase.
Very good. And what's Rask doing as we take us back from that?
Sometime later in the journey, when the good father falls a sensate upon my shoulder, I don't take it away.
Lovely. Thanks, guys. That's
brilliant stuff. Very good.
Cool. Right. Thanks for watching, everybody at home too. We're going to take a break at some point in the future. In a couple of weeks, we will be broadcasting again, and we'll be talking through this adventure and the game and what we think about it and what we might do differently, or what perhaps might make it even better if you want to run it in the future. So thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe and hit that bell.
Cheerio, everyone.